So the first question is just to introduce yourself and your role at your publishing company.
My name's Khadija Coxon. I am an acquisitions editor at McGill Queen's University Press. Sometimes that's called a commissioning editor.
And could you describe in detail what it means to be an acquisitions editor?
An acquisitions editor acquires books for the press. So sometimes people think of it as kind of like a buyer for the press. So essentially, acquisitions editors recommend to the press or give advice about what manuscripts we should acquire and publish. We recruit authors. In I work at a university press, and at university presses, acquisitions editors, and I'm sure other presses too, have areas of specialization. So it's my job to kind of keep abreast of what's going on in my areas of specialization and know who the major players are in my fields and network with them. I go to conferences and have meetings with them and reach out to them when I think that there are interesting projects. I take proposals and sample manuscripts and vet them and then recommend to the press whether we should publish them or not.
What is your favorite part of your job?
Getting to learn so many different things and talk to so many interesting people, getting to read in such a wide variety of areas, because I come from an academic background, and I'm used to, in academic philosophy, learning about one thing that's very specialized very closely and not knowing very much about anything else. And with this job, I specialize in a number of different areas, some things I didn't have a background in before I started this job, and I learned that academia is a lot more diverse than I thought it was before going into this job. So yeah, I learn a lot of interesting things.
What would someone outside of the industry be surprised to learn about your role?
I usually think people will be surprised at how collaborative publishing is and how many people there are behind the scenes. I don't know if that's about my role specifically, but with my role, there's just a lot of different stages to manage. And I think that people just don't really know how much goes on and how much work and labor goes in and from different people goes into making a book.
Do you think you could talk a little bit about what got you interested in working and maybe your background that led you to where you are now?
Yeah, I sort of fell into publishing because as a grad student, I just started doing copy editing for a journal. I didn't really know that I didn't know that acquisitions editing existed, but it was something that I sort of just did because I got asked to do it, and I sort of had an aptitude for it, and I kept doing it. I worked on a journal, and then I sort of had this little freelance editing business. And then I sort of realized that this was a job. And I saw a couple of job postings for it, and I applied for jobs, and I didn't get the jobs. And then I decided to learn about it. So maybe this is advice for somebody who wants to do this. I met people who did this job, and I reached out to them, and I did informational interviews with people, and I learned what this job is, and I kind of worked on getting skills that I didn't have, and I kept on applying for jobs until I got one.
Why is independent Canadian publishing important?
I think for people who are curious and love ideas and love books and literature and writing, it's really important to have an industry that prioritizes those things, that is not just about making money. That's especially important for for academic publishing, because most of the books that we publish don't make very much money. That's not why we do it. The books that we produce are important and meaningful. They're a valuable part of culture.
What are your hopes for the future of publishing?
There are so many talented and creative people working in publishing right now, doing really interesting, innovative things. And I hope that that continues, and I hope that there continues to be support for the industry. This is a tough business. We're always running on very, very tight margins. The feedback that we get is that what we do is really valuable. So that I hope that there's continued recognition that this industry needs to be supported, so we can continue to see kind of the level of creativity and talent that I'm seeing these days.